Hello everyone, welcome in today to the Bucks offseason. I decided to change my mind and do it all in one episode just to knock it out. I wanted to show off the coaches that were fired. The only head coach fired was Mike Tomlin. We decided to also fire our offensive coordinator, as you've seen at the end of the last episode, so now we're looking at candidates. I decided to go with Emmanuel Ortega as our new offensive coordinator. It's not really going to change our offensive system too much because I'm going to build out a playbook, and that's the side of the ball I come from, so I'm going to build out my own custom playbook. Now, if I fire our defensive coordinator at any point, that will change our defensive system to whomever I hire. So if I hire a guy with Dallas's defensive playbook, well, I'm going to be running Dallas's defensive playbook because I'm an offensive coach. So that's how it's going to work. Looking at retirements, you can see Tyrod Taylor. There's some bigger names that have retired like Cameron Jordan and Trent Williams. And then from our team, we had JPP retire, and we also had Cameron Brate retire. You can also see Cam Newton retired. He was at the very bottom. He's been a backup the last few years around the league. Next thing we're going to do is just show off the players that do not currently have contracts on our team. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm letting every one of them walk. There's no reason to bring them back. We sucked last year. So then I also decide now's the time to move on from Russell Gage and re-release him and save a little bit of money to head into free agency. Because before that move, we had almost no money to sign free agents. So he was an easy release. He's our number 3 receiver, and I think we can get one in the draft. So we're kind of looking around, and I'll show you some of the top players at each position. You know, we are interested in bringing in a veteran quarterback. However, I see Tanner McKee, and I was interested in him a little bit, so I wanted to show him off. So as I'm showing some of the top players at each position, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I want to do with this team. So at number 1 overall, there's no question I'm taking a quarterback, and I have it narrowed down to 2, and I'm just trying to decide the direction I want to go based upon what my play style is. I really like the way I played with Kyle Trask to end the season, and I honestly think that a pocket passer might suit me a little bit better because I don't scramble much, and I don't think scrambling in this game is very useful, if I'm being honest with you. So I think it's an attribute I can do without. I'd rather take a quarterback that's the same overall and considered a pocket passer and use him just because his throwing attributes would be better. So I'm going to interrupt my discussion real quick because I did find somebody I wanted to offer, and that is Mike Onwenu. The problem is I can't offer him as much money as he wants, so I do have to drop his offer down some. Nobody's going after him anyway, so I decide why not? I'll come in a little bit low and make this offer, and maybe I can get him to come to Tampa for us. The problem is that's the only offer I can throw out there due to our financial situation right now. And that's kind of the biggest trouble we're having as we're looking around and as I try to build this team out. I really need another running back, and I don't think I have the money to do it. And I also think I could use some depth at other areas of this team. And once again, I don't have the money to do it. So maybe next year or in the future, we're going to have to make some tough decisions and move on from some players. As you can see, Mike Onwenu didn't sign in the first phase, and I was hoping he would. So we reviewed him again, and he still doesn't show up as signed. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a cheat as we're looking at the players that did sign. Him not signing right away actually kind of hurts us a little bit because it takes away some of the depth from free agency that we might be able to split up his money and get. An interesting thing though that did happen is Derek Carr signed with the Broncos, and he is destined to be their starting quarterback. Now we're going to take a look at the latest mock draft, and they have us taking a left end at number 1. I can promise you that ain't happening. So this is definitely going to be messed up. However, there's still, I believe, one more mock draft after this, so we probably won't look at that one just because I don't want to spoil the way it'll go, because we all know that one's pretty much the most accurate one, and it'll go almost pick for pick through the entire first round unless we mess up the order. I will say though, this one has some quarterbacks dropping late in the first round. I don't think that's going to happen because I know I'm going to take one. Next up, you'll see Mike Onwenu had the Lions jump in after him, and you can see he signed with him in the next phase. So we decided to go after John Runyon, and we offer him a 1-year deal. That'll leave some salary cap, and hopefully that'll still help us fill our guard position, and we do get him, so we're happy about that. Looking around the league a little bit, you can see Jimmy G went to the Vikings. Anthony Brown, nothing crazy at the quarterback position. Now, looking at who's available, we have Ryan Tannehill, and I think he's the perfect veteran for us to go after. We can't offer him exactly what he's looking for, nor do I want to, because I expect him to just be our backup and not play that much, because he's not going to be our starter unless something terrible goes wrong in the preseason. I'm not really doing a quarterback competition this year, so I have no interest in really showing the preseason off, and Tannehill did sign with us, so he's going to be our backup quarterback for the upcoming year. He is considered a bridge quarterback, which is good, but I don't expect to play him. Now we're looking at 5th-year options, and we have Joe Tryon-Shoyinka up. He's the first one up to decide whether we want to pick it up or not, and I decided to pick it up. It's kind of questionable, but I think I want to see if he can develop for us. And that's just going to give us a little bit more time. As we look at the top quarterbacks right now, you can see I'm basically down to Kevin Trujillo and Bruce Ziemba. The biggest thing about Ziemba is he is not mobile, but he has A's across the board on the important attributes. And as a passer, I think that's important, so I don't throw so many picks. And I think I just played better with Trask, which is why I'm leaning Ziemba. However, I honestly didn't make up my decision until I went into the draft. Dominique Bennett, Jalen Giovanelli, and Kevin Lloyd were my 3 players that I did the extra scouting on right before the draft. Now we're going to scroll through and show off where everybody signed that was a free agent. Derek Carr was really the biggest name player as far as the quarterbacks went that changed teams. And at receiver, both Keenan Allen and Gabe Davis went to the Titans. That'll improve their passing game a lot. That's a big get for the Titans. Russell Gage, who we released, also ended up going to the Broncos, so I'm curious to see how he does and follow his career a little bit further. At center, Jason Kelsey went to the Bears, along with the top left tackle available. That was Jedrick Wells. And then at right tackle, Mekhi Becton also went to the Bears. So the Bears went all out to get their O-line improved in order to try and see what Justin Fields is and build around him, because if it doesn't work out soon, they're definitely going to move on from him. That's a big investment in their O-line to see what happens. They also invested on their defense a little bit. They got Jordan Brooks, the top middle linebacker, available, and they also got another D lineman they brought in as well. And then at right outside linebacker, they got Shaq Thompson, who's a little bit more of an edge rusher, I think, but I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes and how they use him. The Saints went out and got John Johnson the third to come play safety for him, try to improve their team a little bit. And then no kickers and punters were signed in free agency. Now we're going to get ready to start the NFL draft, and as you know, the Buccaneers have the number 1 overall pick. And as you know, we are definitely picking a quarterback in this draft. There is no way we can not pick a quarterback at number 1 overall. Now, for a second, I thought about trading down a little bit, but the fact is, I want who I want. The problem is, it took me a minute to make up my mind here, just because looking at Bruce Ziemba, you know, he's a little bit shorter. He's 22, but he has A's across the board there, which is important. He doesn't have great speed or anything like that, which is okay. He's a pocket passer. I didn't expect that out of him, so that's totally acceptable to me. And then looking at his other attributes, they're solid across the board, unless you're looking for scrambling ability, which I am not, and honestly, I don't care about that. But his throw power is also just decent, which scares me a little bit. However, the accuracies and all that, I decided it's time to pull the trigger and let's go for it. We draft Bruce Ziemba, the 22-year-old quarterback out of Texas A&M. He has 86 throw power, which is a little lower than I'd like, but you know what? Maybe we can develop it and get it up closer to 90. I'm a little worried about that. It's lower than I thought it would be. I guess decent. I probably should have read into that a little bit more, but it is what it is, and I'm happy with the pick. I can't complain. I think he's going to be a good fit. At number 2 overall, the New York Jets select Michael Wright, the quarterback out of Miami of Ohio. We've seen him in our Kent Williams Carousel Dynasty. At number 3, the Dolphins go Isaiah Irving Bay, a defensive tackle out of USC. And then our other quarterback option went at number 4 to the New England Patriots. That's Kevin Trujillo, the quarterback out of Michigan. I find it funny that they went with another Michigan quarterback. So at number 5, the Texans go Rick Wilson out of Maryland. At 6, the Steelers go Dartha Anarka, right outside linebacker out of Arkansas. And then at 7, the Vikings go John Luafu, a quarterback out of Arkansas State. At 8, it is Lacarius Plummer, a wide receiver out of Texas A&M, headed to the Broncos. At number 9, the Arizona Cardinals select Harrison Draper, a right outside linebacker out of North Carolina. That's a pretty solid pick. We'll see how that works out for him. At number 10, it is Noah Sharp, a left outside linebacker out of Nebraska. And then at 11, Stephen McDowell ended up going to Jacksonville. At 12, it is Cody Galea heading to the Panthers. That's another quarterback option that we had. At 13, it's Dakota Gideon headed to Colts out of Georgia. He's a defensive tackle. At number 14, the Dallas Cowboys go Tavon Mabry, a left tackle out of Texas State. And then at 14, it's Tyron Boone Jr. to the Saints. At 15, the 49ers go Jonathan Barksdale. At number 17, the Seahawks go Hunter Amina, a middle linebacker out of Michigan. At 18, the Giants go Zaven Moultrie, a D-tackle out of Wisconsin. At 19, Texans go Cedric Uwuzurike, a right tackle out of Georgia. At number 20, the Detroit Lions go Dorian Murphy, an outside linebacker out of Southern Miss. At 21, it's Christopher Wilder of Texas A&M going to the Falcons. At 22, the Bears go Chris Holmes out of Florida State. At 23, it's Dalton Hamilton, another quarterback heading to the Titans. He's out of Florida State, and he was projected to go in round 2, so this might be a little bit of a reach. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jaleel Montgomery, a middle linebacker out of Michigan. And then the Packers go James Roberts, a halfback out of Stanford. That's shocking. Wendy Garrett goes to the the Raiders with the next pick. He's a strong safety. And then Samario Powell, a corner out of Stanford, goes. He was also the Thorpe winner. Marcus McBride went. He was an award winner as well. Michael Borders, a corner, goes. And then Scale Yarborough, a safety out of Syracuse. And then the Carson Smith, a right guard out of UNLV, goes. And then the final pick of the first round to the Super Bowl winning Rams goes Edmund Grayson. And then for some reason during editing, I messed up showing the Mario Browse pick. So we ended up taking him. He's a wide receiver out of Penn State. He's 6'6". He's tall. He had a pretty productive career, and I think he'll be a perfect guy to come in and replace Mike Evans down the road. We'll have to see if he develops for us, but I think he can be a good player. He's not a big deep threat, so we'll have to see how that works out. Adam Singleton's another player I liked from our dynasty, and then Thomas Turner, our safety from Buffalo, ends up going in the third round to the Saints. We'll have to check on him and see how his career goes. Next up's a quarterback in the third round, Brian Wilson out of Oregon, and then we're back on the clock with round 4, pick 1, and now we're looking, and I'm really debating here. There's a few different players that I liked. One of them's Tony Carswell, a corner out of Notre Dame. He had 3 B's and a D. So the D kind of scared me a little bit. And then I was looking at Bobby Watson and halfback Tremaine Miller. Watson, it's just something about him I like. He's not that quick, like straight line speed, but he has agility and side to side movement. And then I see my middle linebacker from Buffalo still on the board, and I'm thinking Levante David's back on a short-term deal. He has a couple D's on there, but those are in run defense, which we know is his weakness. However, we know he's going to be a great sideline to sideline player with how fast he is, and we know he's going to be good in coverage. So I'm kind of leaning J.R. Henry round 4, pick 1, I think. It's just a tough decision, and then I decide to pull the trigger and go for it. J.R. Henry, our middle linebacker from Buffalo. He's only 5'10", 227, but he's going to join us here in Tampa. He has hidden development and 90 speed. I can't wait to use him and get him out there. He's definitely going to be a backup this year, but I look forward to getting J.R. Henry on the field. Prince Ware went in round 4. He's a quarterback from Stanford. Tremaine Miller ended up going to the Cowboys before our next pick, and then Tony Carswell's still on the board, and I'm really tempted to take him or Bobby Watson. The biggest discussion here is, do we go based on need or best talent? I kind of think Carswell's the better player. The thing is, I need a running back, and Bobby Watson fits what I'm looking for, and we take him. He's 87 speed, which is pretty good, 90 agility, 92 acceleration. He is only normal dev. That's a little bit sad. And then you'll see Carswell goes later in the 4th round to the Packers, so we'll have to see how he ends up turning out. We're back on the board later in the 4th round, and I'm looking at tight end Matt Jenkins here. I think we could use a little bit of help at the tight end position. You know, K. Dotton's pretty good, and he's probably our starter, but we only have Keeft on the roster, and then Zystra, who was on our practice squad last year as well. So I think maybe we should look at another tight end and add some more youth to the room, even though it's young, and try to develop him. And look at that, Matt Jenkins comes out with hidden development. He's only 83 speed, which is a little bit on the low side compared to what I thought. He's out of Penn State. You can see his picture in top left corner. Next up is a quarterback, Jared Williams, going in the 5th round to the Cardinals. And then Devin Linwood also goes in the 5th. He's out of Western Kentucky. He goes to the Eagles, and then we're back on the board with round 6, pick 1. And I'm looking at free safeties, and based on what I see, Leighton Davis looks like he's the best one out of Tennessee, so we go ahead and pick him. Only 82 speed. That is scary low. I don't know if that'll ever work out. And then Colin Lawler, a quarterback out of Ohio State, goes to the Bills, also in the 6th round. And then at round 7, pick 1, we're back up on the board. And I'm looking at a wide receiver. His name's Kevin Irving. He has good size, and he had pretty good athletic gifts, which is why I drafted him. He's 6'4", 222 out of Montana. He has 90 speed, and I look forward to seeing what I can develop him into. Next up's Billy McDowell, a quarterback out of Pitt. He went to the Chargers. And then Christian Palmer, a quarterback out of Arkansas, ended up going to the Bengals. Now let's take a look at Bruce Ziemba, our 1st round pick. He has 86 throw power, 90 medium, 94 short, 84 deep. Those are pretty good attributes. Now he's not fast. We knew that coming in, and he has hidden development. So I look forward to seeing what I can develop Bruce Ziemba into. He does have the day 1 starter tag and QB of the future tag. Mario Browse, with his normal development, came in at a 76 overall. He has 89 speed, 95 acceleration, which is very good. 99 jumping and 93 agility I also like, with 87 change of direction at 6'6", might I remind you. His route running needs some development, but I think I can work with the ability that he possesses. Like I said, he's going to be a solid contributor, and I think he might jump in and be our number 3 while Chris Godwin's in the slot. Next up's J.R. Henry, who we picked in round 4, pick 1. He's got hidden development. He's a 71 overall, 90 speed, 81 tackling, 84 hit power. Like I said, a lot of his other stuff's kind of low when it comes to run blocking, like 65 block shedding. He does have 71 zone coverage, though, coming in as a rookie. That's really good. 89 acceleration as well. He is a very athletic linebacker who's pretty good in coverage. He lacks some length. We'll have to see if that affects him here in the NFL. Next up's Bobby Watson, and this is a disappointing pick in the 4th round. He's only a 64 overall. I don't even know if he's going to make our team. This was just a bad decision, and I went with need over best player available. Honestly, I kind of screwed it up. He does have some redeeming traits. Like I said, I like his athleticism. It's okay. He's kind of more of maybe a receiving back in the future, but we redeemed ourselves with Matt Jenkins, who has hidden development, and he comes in at a 67 overall later in the 4th round. He has 81 catching, 83 speed. Not a run blocker, that's not shocking. His route running kind of sucks, which is something we really have to develop with him, but I think if we develop that, I think overall he'll be a pretty good receiving tight end or a move tight end for us. Next up's Leighton Davis. We took him in the 6th round, and that was a bad pick. He's only a 63 overall. As soon as I seen his speed, I was worried about it, and honestly, I should have looked deeper, and once again, I wanted some safety depth. I mentioned it in the offseason, and I decided to take a shot, and it just didn't work out. However, I'm pretty happy with Kevin Irving in the 7th round. He's a 68 overall player at 6'4". He's a physical type receiver, which is perfect. He's 90 speed, 90 acceleration, 78 catching traffic. His F catching was 74. I'll take that. However, his route runnings are terrible. That's where he needs a lot of work, and I think if we can develop his route running, he'll turn into a pretty good receiver, and I think he'll be maybe even a better fit than Mario Brous to replace Mike Evans down the road. I think he's a little bit more in his mold, but he still has to develop, so let's see what happens there. Next thing we're going to do is look at the other draft picks overall in the 1st round and then just throughout the draft. Michael Wright, the number 2 overall pick, is a 73 overall quarterback. He only has 88 throw power, which isn't that great. His accuracies are okay. I'm pretty happy that we made the decision to take Bruce Siemba over him. Honestly, he didn't make my final choices anyway. The number 3 overall pick was Isaiah Irving Bay. He's a 74 overall D tackle with hidden dev. And then the Patriots took Kevin Trujillo, who ended up being a 76 overall scrambling quarterback. He only has 86 throw power, which is the same as what we got. His accuracies are worse than what we got in Bruce Siemba. His throw under pressure and stuff's a little bit worse, but he has that crazy athleticism like I thought. 88 speed, 92 acceleration, 93 agility, and then he has 96 change of direction, which is nasty. That is insane. Rick Wilson's a hidden development player for the Texans. He's a 74, and then Dartha Anarka is a 73 normal dev for the Steelers, so it's safe to say they didn't get a great pick there. Next up's John Luafu, another quarterback that we could have considered. He went to the Vikings, and he's a 76 overall strong arm quarterback, but he only has normal dev. He does have the 95 throw power, which would have been nice, but his accuracies are far worse than Bruce Siemba's. Now, he did have a little bit better throw under pressure and break sack, and some more athleticism with 86 speed, 83 acceleration, 82 agility, but I wanted that pocket passer, so I think I made the right decision. Next up, Lecarius Plummer, a receiver for the Broncos. He only ended up with normal dev, and he's a 74 overall, so that looks a little bit like a miss. Next up is Harrison Draper. He does have hidden dev. He's a 74 overall. The Cardinals seem to have gotten a pretty good pick. Noah Sharps after that. He's a 73 overall with hidden dev, so the Chargers are probably pretty happy with that pick, but he does have a lot of development left to do. Next up, Stephen McDowell, who at one point was projected to go to us. He does have hidden dev. He's a 74 overall. He's only 21, so that's pretty good. And then Cody Galea is a 73 with hidden dev for the Panthers. That's an okay pick. I'm happy that we didn't choose him. He's kind of similar to Bruce Siemba, but he's not as accurate. He has the same throw power. Now, he does probably have a little bit more mobility, which he does. 86 speed, 85 acceleration, 85 agility, and then 84 change of direction. But honestly, I don't think he's a better pick than what we got in Bruce Siemba. I do have to say, though, he's a national championship winning quarterback, so he has that going for him, and he also really wasn't in consideration for our pick anyway, so I think I made the right decision, though, looking through these quarterbacks. I'm pretty confident that I'll be happy with my pick of Bruce Siemba. Just hopefully he doesn't come out with star dev, because that would be annoying, but he'll have a chance to upgrade it if he does, so I'll take it. I'm happy with our 1st round pick. We're going to finish scrolling through and looking at some of the other picks here in this draft, especially the 1st rounders. I want to show them off just because in this one specifically, I went ahead and created this entire draft class from my Coach Kent Williams Carousel Dynasty universe that we had to conclude early on the channel, otherwise it'd still be running. So all these players I actually played with, created them and used them and saw them develop in college. So I just think it's cool, and I like to include this a little bit, especially early in these drafts, because you need to know who these guys are. They're going to make up the universe as we keep going in this franchise file. So hopefully some of these guys can develop and become studs. The next quarterback was Dalton Hamilton. He was projected to be a round 2 pick. I was shocked that he went in round 1. He has 90 throw power though, which is pretty good. His accuracies are not bad. I actually think they're a little bit better than what I would have expected out of a 2nd round pick. And he has fantastic athleticism. So I think that was actually kind of a good pick for the Titans. We'll see what his dev trait ends up being. But like I said, when I created this draft class, dev traits were not something I looked at. I didn't touch them. I never went to that screen. No matter who the player was. I just created players based on who was already in the draft and whatever devs they had stayed. So I don't have an idea what any of these players' dev traits are, who had normal, who didn't. Like, I didn't think John DeLafu was going to have normal because he was the top quarterback in the class, but he was the best quarterback in the class, so I expected him to have better dev, and then he didn't end up having it. So that's kind of how this is going to work. Going into the future, you're going to see some players coming in from my coach KJ Carousel Dynasty in the next draft. It's going to be guys that graduated and left Penn State. I'm probably going to avoid all the other teams and just create my Penn State guys for that one and get them into this universe and see how their career goes, because we all know Madden 24 is coming up soon. So with that, I really want to make sure that I get to conclude some of these players' careers while planning to go ahead into the future, where I don't want to use as many realistic people. My goal is to kind of just do away with all the real life players and hopefully get it so that way they're no longer in our universe, and I can use the Coach KJ people to create our draft classes and build that universe out. I just don't really want to use like Caleb Williams and all them. I want to create our own world, have our own people, have our own top prospects, and just see what happens and how we build from that. So that's my plan. We'll see if it works out. I have to get through a few more seasons of the Coach KJ Carousel Dynasty first and see how many of the real life players I can kind of flush out of there and not have involved in the next phase of this, but it all depends. I think this franchise file probably have to speed up even a little bit more than what I plan on doing it, just because I want to get through a few more seasons and we really only have about a month left. Now, I won't be kicking off my Madden 24 franchise until after the week 1 rosters are complete, just because, I don't know, it's a weird thing. I don't like doing it before then. So I might do some rebuilds or something on Madden 24 at first while continuing to post this series. We'll see. I have to make up my mind. I'm not fully sure yet what I'm planning on doing. I'm definitely going to have a franchise on it as soon as the week 1 rosters drop, unless there's some major game flaws where I have to delay it a little bit more. Then I may even delay it a little bit more just because I want to do what's right and have the best possible franchise. Now we're just going to scroll through and look at the rest of the class. I plan on trying to show everybody off, every draft pick in there. Next time I probably won't stop so much. This offseason I'm definitely going a little slower and I'm just learning how I want to set it up. So I think next time I'm going to go a little quicker through the end of draft stuff. But Adam Singleton was somebody that made a big impact in the Coach Kent Williams Carousel Dynasty. He was a very good player for Miami of Ohio, and we found him to be pretty disruptive against us. So I wanted to show off where he went, and hopefully he has some success for the Chargers. Now, Thomas Turner was a player for the Kent Williams, and he ended up being a first-team All-American at Buffalo. So he ended up getting into this draft class. He's a little undersized, and I think he can make an impact for the Saints. As a third-round pick, I think that's about right. I think he'll be able to develop, and I hope he becomes a stud. I look forward to taking him on since he's in our division. I'll get to see him twice a year. Hopefully he doesn't have any big plays against us, but chances are he might, because he was a fantastic player in college, so we'll have to see how the rest of his career plays out. Brian Wilson was a good quarterback for Oregon. He was a third-round pick as well. Now, hopefully he can develop a little bit. I think that he's a good player, and he'll have a good career. Next up is Prince Ware. He was drafted by the Dolphins. He's out of Stanford. He's more of a scrambler type. He has a good arm with 92 throw power, and mobility is going to be his strongest point to begin his career. He's not the most accurate. He is pretty good throwing short passes, but once you ask him to start going to the deeper part of the field, you'll have some issues with him. But I think he'll be a good backup quarterback to start out for the Dolphins, and we'll have to see how his career develops. Sean Pickett's a halfback that made some noise in our dynasty file. He ended up being a Heisman finalist from Ohio State. He's 90 speed, 90 acceleration, 88 agility. He's a pretty well-rounded back, and he actually looks really good. Maybe the Panthers got a steal. We'll have to see how his career turns out as well. The next player we should be looking at will be a corner that we ended up passing on in this draft that I really kind of think was a mistake. So we'll have to see how Tony Carswell is. He's a corner out of Notre Dame. We passed on him to take Bobby Watson, and that looks like it was a bad decision if I'm being honest with you. He ended up being a 73 overall, and for some reason I never clicked on his profile. I don't know how I managed to forget that. I thought I did. So he's a 73. Maybe we'll get a deeper look at him later. Next up is Jared Williams. He's a quarterback from Washington. He's 23 years old. He's more of a scrambler once again. He has good throw power though at 91. His accuracies are bad though. He can throw on the run, but he is not an accurate passer at all. I think he's a long-term project, but with that speed, man, he might be a better player to move out to a different position maybe. I mean, he has 99 agility and like 97 change of direction. That's insane. He might not be good enough though to play receiver or running back. However, it's up to the Cardinals. We'll have to see what decision they can come up with. The next player we're going to look at is Devin Linwood. He's a quarterback out of Western Kentucky. Now, he's more of a pocket guy. He's just smaller at 6'1", 209. He's also 23. He only has 84 throw power, but he has 90 short accuracy, 70 78 medium. His deep accuracy isn't great, but with that arm, you're not going to throw it deep with him too often, so I wouldn't be that worried about that, honestly. It doesn't make sense to attempt a lot of deep shots with a guy who just doesn't have the arm to do it. It's kind of like what I had to learn when I was using Kyle Trask. He's exactly that type of quarterback. Now we're in the 6th round, just looking through and seeing other players drafted. So far, there isn't anybody that looks that spectacular, if I'm being honest with you. There's a whole lot of mid-60s, a few upper 60s. We do find a 70 in tight end Brandon Harrison. Now, I do got to mention with him, he tore us up a little bit when he was at Bowling Green. He was one of the top receivers in the MAC, and, you know, of course, we were at Buffalo, so we had to face him, and he was tough. I'll give him credit. He was really good. The next player we're going to take an in-depth look at is Colin Lawler. He was a quarterback at Ohio State, and the Bills ended up taking him in the 6th round. He does have 92 throw power, which is pretty good. His accuracy, once again, deep is terrible. He's just a mobile guy, though. He can move around. He's got a lot of developing to do. He's a pretty raw quarterback, if I'm being honest. But the Bills have already developed one in Josh Allen, so we'll see. Maybe they can do it again. Now we're into the 7th round, and we're going to look at some of the final prospects that were drafted in this class. Billy McDowell is a quarterback that was picked. The Chargers ended up taking him in the 7th round. He's a low overall. He's just not a very good quarterback. He was out of Pittsburgh. He was kind of, once again, that Kyle Trask, Kenny Pickett idea where he's an 84 throw power guy. Really good short accuracy, but the rest of his accuracy stink, and he's not that mobile. So I think he's a career backup at best. He might not even make the team, if I'm being honest with you. But we'll see what he ends up doing in the preseason. I know we have at least one more quarterback to go over, and that's Christian Palmer. He went at round 7, pick 24 to the Bengals. He's out of Arkansas. He's 24 years old. He's got 84 throw power. Now his accuracies are a little more well balanced. His short accuracy is much worse, however he has better deep accuracy, and he can move around a little bit with 86 speed, 86 acceleration, 86 agility, so we'll see if he is able to develop and maybe become the backup quarterback for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. That's it. That's all for our draft stuff. We're going to get started on next season here soon. You're going to see it's going to be a few episodes, and then we're going to be into the next season. I plan on doing 3, showing 1 game per episode and going from there. This is LDJ11. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day. I'm out.
And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief. There's something that'll have what you need, what you need. We're broken, it's tragic, we're not all elastic, but maybe there's magic, believe you could have it.